American bombers could fly over Mukden and not be attacked.
Mm.
And they could do that quite easily. They could fly over and back.
Mm.
And a week later they came back. Not only did they fly in a straight line, they flew in circles.
Yeah.
And we thought, geez, if they can fly in circles, it's nothing bothering them, you know.
Yes.
And then they let some of the bombs go, you know, on the railway and factories, etc. I don't know where they landed, but two of them landed in the camp, and that's why this ice is so important. These high explosive bombs came down and landed in the parade ground. And there was a huge, great a lot of coke, about 60 feet high and more 100 feet long.
A pile of coke.
Yeah, a pile of coke.
For Booner's fuel.
Yeah, and I thought, jings, this is getting dangerous. So I climbed in underneath a little tiny alleyway, got right in underneath, and sure enough a bomb came terribly close. I bled from my nose and everywhere, you know, and I got out and I did fairly recovered reasonably well, and I saw this Major Hawkins carrying in the wounded, and so I went straight away with him. Whether more bombs or not, we didn't know, but we carried these blokes in that were shockingly knocked about, you know, and we carried them until we couldn't carry any more. We absolutely finished. And that's when he came to me a couple of days later, and he said, "Where do you live?" And I said, "I live in Bridgewater, Tasmania." "And is your father alive?" I said, "Yes, Eric Shoebridge, and he lives in Bridgewater, Tasmania." What I didn't know was he was going to give me one of those letters.
Yes, yeah, really, yeah. Now, did you know an Englishman by the name of Bill Bell, or nicknamed Dingle Bell, who had a puppet? He used to entertain the guys who were sick.
I met him, but I...
But you do remember him?
Yeah, I remember him, yeah.
Do you remember that his nickname was Dingle Bell?
Yes.
Yeah. And he used to have this puppet, and yeah. Oh, well,
didn't he go to the west?
Yes, he settled in Western Australia, and his son is a senior policeman in Western Australia. Yeah. Now, do you know whether the Japanese carried out any experimental medical procedures on the prisoners?
That was rumoured, but we were never able to prove it.
No.
The senior officers were in another camp, you see. Brigadier Maxwell, and Brigadier
Percival,
and Taylor. Trying to think. Black Jack Callaghan.
Yeah, was Blackburn up there?
I think he was.
No, Blackjack was still in Singapore.
Oh, right.
But was Blackburn up there?
I'm not sure of that, because they never came to the major camp where we were. The only one that did was a Colonel Pigden, and he was in the hospital. Very nice bloke. And he was, in a shocking bad way. And I went up in there and he said, "Would you get me a drink of water?" So I went in, got him a drink of water, and I could see he was getting very low. And he said, "Tell the family not to sell the farm."
Really?
And he said, "Could you get me another drink of water?" So I went and got him another drink of water, went back with the second one, and he was gone.
Yeah. Now that must have been very close to the end of the war, was it? Was it?
Was, because...
Only weeks before, or?
Yes, weeks before. Because there was a Japanese sergeant who was slightly, led our way a bit. And he said to me, I think you go home soon.
Really?
And I saw him about 10 days afterwards. He said, I think you'll go home very soon.
Mm.
And then, of course, they dropped the big bombs on Japan.
Yeah. Now, do you remember that when you probably didn't know the war was over officially, but wasn't there an incident with an aircraft flying over and some people parachuting out of the planes?
And yes,
Do you remember anything about that?
well, they dropped food to us.
Yes.
That's what happened. And the food, a lot of the food dropped into the camp.
Yes.
And there was one lot of coffee, and that landed in a small waterhole just inside the camp. It was a whole waterfall made of coffee, you see.
Yeah. Now, when the war was, when you really knew that the war was over, was Dr. Oakey still in that camp, the Japanese doctor?
As far as I know, they vanished.
Yeah, okay. When did you first come across Brigadier Maxwell?
He came across me
Mm-hmm.
because he'd been to the same school, I think, and years before me.
Oh, he's a Tasmanian.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and he knew his name, Shivridge, you see.
Yeah.
And he said to me, how do you think you're going to get out to the railway station?
Mm.
I said, I don't know, sir. I haven't got a clue. He said, I've been able to commandeer a little wagon and a donkey.
Mm.
And he said, I think you can carry you out to the railway station with me.
Mm.
And that's what happened.
Mm. Mm. Now, from when you went to the railway station, the war's over and you were sort of, we'll call it, you're on the evacuation process to go home to Australia. What were the steps? How did you get home to Australia?
We got on a train, and that took us to Seoul, and in that port, Busan, I think. Then we got on an American hospital ship, and then we got in the edge of a typhoon, and she started leaking, and they said, oh, we'll have to go into Okinawa. And we went into Okinawa, and we got off, and we said we'll have to wait for another ship, and they came round. We were in some sort of camp, I don't know where we were, but there was an American officer came to me and he said, would you like to get to the Philippines? You go on the Flying Fortress. And I said, yes sir, I'd like to get as far seas quickly, you know. And so he said, I'll tee you up to get on this Flying Fortress. And they put blankets all over us in it. They had the American dry rations and that sort of thing. And then the co-pilot came down and he said, would you like to go up in the front and have a look? And I said, yes, I would. And the captain's over here, and he said, there's Luzanne coming up. He said, she won't land very well. She said, the brakes are not too good, but she'll slow, but I can get her down. So we got in there, and we did land her, and she did slow badly. Then we went to a big American hospital, and they looked after us as best they could, you know. And I was next to another bloke from Tasmania, a John Thorold, and he was a very good bloke, and the Yanks looked after us very well. Then the Formidable came and got us, a big British aircraft carrier, which I've got a pennant of.